Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and you're right, Terry. The phone lines are open. We are taking calls, 1-800-229-3000, and by we, I mean Dr. Jill Hubbard and Marc Cameron. I'm so glad you guys are there. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello, Becky.
You know, and we've got some great calls lined up. If you're waiting on hold, please hold on. We're glad to be able to answer calls to help people. I hear from so many people that even listening to the calls helps them in their own life, and I know that's been true for me as well.
Yep.
One of the things that we hear on the regular is everyone is a narcissist. And now there are some people that are narcissists, but
it's kind of the age of narcissism, right?
You're not
With
too
social
far off.
media.
I'm glad that everyone isn't a narcissist, because then we'd be in trouble.
I know we would be.
Yeah. Well, and I was saying to Marc and Jill before we started that, if you say the person is a narcissist, and they may be, what if you couldn't say that? And what would you be able to say about the person that would be more than just the label? And so, Jill, you've talked about this from time to time when we've had callers. What are we talking about when we talk about narcissism,
Well,
et cetera?
we have to remember that narcissism is a whole spectrum. And that actually it starts with healthy narcissism, and we all need a little bit of narcissism to have any self-esteem at all. And so like when the 3-year-old is saying, Mommy, look at me, I can do this. Okay, that's healthy narcissism, to feel one's own sense of personhood and competency. But as it goes along down the spectrum, most people who are labeled as narcissistic have more traits or features that are narcissistic. Really, the full-blown malignant narcissist is about 10% of the population, people that can really be put in the category of having a personality disorder. So we're talking about traits and features. But Becky, to your point, it's important to look at the individual. What does that look like for them, right?
Right.
And what is your part in the interaction with them, right?
Right.
Yeah, so clinically when we're talking, therapists are talking about narcissism, or someone who's narcissistic, has narcissistic personality disorder, that's somebody who has this sense of self-importance that is very inflated. They can be preoccupied with power, success, or beauty. They can often exploit others, and they tend to lack empathy because they're just so preoccupied with their own needs, and they can also be envious. But what some people I think miss about people who do have narcissistic personality disorder, because they can seem so preoccupied with themselves, it's almost like they actually have a hole in their self-esteem bucket, and they need people to continually tell them how great they are, because if people don't do that, then they don't feel good inside.
Right. They're trying to stay, in a sense, one step ahead of the shame that they actually feel.
Correct.
And that lack of feeling on the inside. And it's almost like they're overloaded with their own feelings, but then lack feelings for others.
And Jill, that hole or that wound, that is usually caused by a wound.
Sure.
And we don't even think about that when we're dealing with somebody who has these traits.
Well, right. Or in childhood, receiving a lot of unmerited favor. Right? When you know you're not as good as somebody is praising you for, there's a gap there.
Which is a wound too,
It
right?
is a
Because
wound,
they
because you're
haven't
not being
learned.
seen.
Right, they haven't learned to consider other people. And you're right, Becky, sometimes it's hard for us because their actions can be very hurtful, and we tend not to think about their hurt.
Right. Well, if you have somebody in your life that you think is a narcissist, or maybe is on the spectrum of narcissism, we have a book, I think, Understanding and Loving a Narcissistic Person in Your Life, or something along those lines. But, we want to help you, because it is tough when you're in those situations, in those relationships, and it can feel abusive at times. But there is hope, and there's help. That's what we're here for. We want to help you. We'll be right back.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
This is Steve Arter. Do you feel like your marriage is broken? New Life can help. Our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
3.5 years later, we're still going strong, and I would encourage really anybody who's struggling in their marriage to go to a New Life workshop. They are more effective than anything else we tried.
1-800-NEWLIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are glad you joined us. We're going to go right to the calls, and we're going to talk with Michelle, who's calling us from Colorado Springs. Colorado listens on KGFT. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for calling. How can we help you?
Hi. So I'm calling because it has mostly to do with knowing how to set healthy boundaries with family within my marriage. So for the longest, I've been married for 10 years. My husband has battled with alcohol addiction throughout our entire marriage. He's relapsed quite a few times. And a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, I would say our church basically sponsored him to go to an inpatient Christian rehab, in which he did and completed, and he was clean after that. And so I think 2 or 3 years passed, and he joins the military, and then he relapses again, when joining the military. And so he still is now active duty and had a really scary relapse not too long ago, and his job got involved. And so he is under their program, which is called like ADAPT, I think, where they're just keeping an eye on him, making sure that he's checking in, and, they have their own system there. But as Christians, both my husband and I always try to get Christian counsel, just because we feel that's the best counsel for us, because we are Christian. So, to catch you to speed, my husband has been clean for about 6 months now, and is completed in an outpatient program for alcohol addiction, goes to group every Monday, has his own Christian counsel once a week, also still doing the program with his job where they're keeping, making sure that he's okay, and he's checking in once a week there as well.
That's great.
Yep. So all of that is going good, and I'm getting counsel as well. And our kids are about to start getting counsel because we do have 4 children. Now, my question for boundaries, I'm explaining like the backstory because it brings me to this question. His parents have just overcrossed boundaries ever since I can remember, and they don't respect my husband or treat him as an adult, which is frustrating to me. Even if he tries to speak up for himself, which he has, or write a letter or say, this is how I feel. I mean, they'll yes, but then they'll still continue with their ways that we say, please do not do this. Because we're trying to work on our marriage.
Okay. So what's the question then, Michelle?
So I'm trying to know myself, how do I deal with his parents that don't respect if we're saying we need space, we're working on us, we're working on our marriage, we're working on our faith, we're working on, being good parents, healthy parents for our children, and they continue to overstep that.
Okay, so can you give us an example? Like, do they live near? Do they show up at your house? How are they overstepping the boundary?
They don't live near. Overstepping by, so we moved and we haven't given them the address, and they continue to send voicemails, text messages. Why aren't you giving us the address? We prayed about it, and we just felt like we needed a space from that, and that's why we chose not to. But we get a random a letter in the mail from his family. We've never given our address. How do they find our address?
Well, a lot of times, Michelle, that can be online. But I think let's talk about how to communicate the boundaries, because it sounds like you made the decision not to share with them, to try and create a boundary. But that's one of the things that we talk about when you have a boundary. It's very important to communicate what the expectation is. So, Marc or Jill, how can we help Michelle establish clarity?
I'm wondering too, it's kind of an unusual boundary to not give one's address.
Is that because you don't want them to show up? Is that why you didn't give them the address?
Yeah, his mom tends to be one that she doesn't ask. She just says, "Oh, I got tickets," and she just picks her time to come visit. Every time she visits, it causes strife between my husband and I, because she goes to my husband and asks him questions, and then comes to me and asks me questions. And it's like, this is not healthy. You're basically trying to put us against each other and gossip.
Okay.
And so,
all right, we get it.
But it seems like having a conversation about that more than withholding an address. Okay, you have saying that here's our expectations.
Or even if she buys tickets, just to say,
sorry.
well, I'm sorry, that's not a good time for us, so we're not going to be able to see you, right? And then she has the cost of that. Because when you're talking about boundaries are more than just saying to someone, hey, this is my boundary.
Yeah.
Right. Boundaries have to have some kind of cost to it if somebody crosses the boundary. Right. And so there needs to be this line drawn where it's definitive, that you say, OK, this is what I want. And if you don't respect that, or you cross over it, this is what's going to happen. And so something tells me that if she bought tickets and you did not see her, that would be the cost. And I don't know if she'd do it again.
And to tell her ahead of time, please do not buy tickets without consulting with us.
And if she does, you don't see her, and she loses the cost of the ticket.
Yeah, we will not be available.
So, Michelle, how are you and your husband on this boundary thing?
We're on the same exact page, which is a blessing. We're really on the same page with it. My mother-in-law, more so than my father-in-law, just is very opinionated and has come to the house, and she brags to the whole family, oh, I'm going to see my grandbabies. But when she comes to the house, she tells my kids, don't you guys know how to eat peanut butter and jelly? Or why do you have cereal? Or they don't need to go out. It's just like, it's all for a show. But then when you come to our house, she's literally just looking at my husband and I and commenting on everything in a negative way. Then what's the point in this? And I feel like, because I feel I just want I've always wanted my family and his family to get along, but I think I've compromised too much in wanting that. And I have, going back 5 years ago, my husband and I have spoken to her and to his dad and explained to them, this is how we live. Because they're not, the mother claims to be a Christian, but she still lives like she's not a Christian. But the father is not a believer. And so, we've tried to explain to them, this is, even though my husband has had this problem, both his parents were alcoholics as well. So he grew up in a household with that.
Well, and so Michelle, what's happening though is that the expectation is that we set a boundary 5 years ago, and that we would just assume that they would appreciate that, would abide by it. And then the hard part in these kind of relationships, and a lot of families have this struggle where you have set a boundary, like you didn't even give your address, but you're having to spend a lot of energy, emotional energy, sustaining this break. And what you want to work towards is the freedom that comes from having a really clear boundary. And you may have to repeat it, but you want to look for decreased emotional energy going into the boundary. And you got to put that somewhere else. And I think so many times, and you guys, you can obviously speak to this, but I just think so many times when we get into this back and forth, the energy towards the back and forth is what is consuming all of our time, as opposed to, all right, I need to reset this boundary. I need to be able to communicate that. And I need to take my frustration somewhere else, because they're not the ones that are going to help me get clear of this, Michelle? Or,
Well,
I don't know if that makes sense, but.
And I think, Michelle, it would be important to be clear on who your mother-in-law is, because you're probably not going to change her. What you can do is continue to reinforce what works for you guys and what doesn't. And so, but her personality and how she is, that may not fit with your lifestyle, but it is your husband's mother. And so to let her be who she is, but then to set those expectations. These are our expectations.
And I'm going to say something challenging here to Michelle, because we only get good at whatever we practice, right? And so you and your husband need to be practicing boundaries too. And so I'm glad you told us some of your backstory, but I think you need some boundaries too with your husband, because he keeps on relapsing. And yes, he's been 6 months clean, but he was, I think you said, several years clean before. So I think, as you learn to practice setting and holding boundaries with each other, you will learn to feel stronger to stand up to your mother-in-law. And when she intrudes, you'll just set that boundary, and it won't feel like you're stuck. But I want to challenge you there with that, is to think about, if your husband relapses now after 6 months, what are the boundaries that you're going to put in place?
Yeah.
Counsel for exactly that. So I'm working on, which before he came back to the house, that was a conversation that I had with him on boundaries and the consequences of things happening if this goes there again. So I'm really grateful that you guys are just confirming the path that I am on with setting that boundary with my husband for because my heart is in the right place, but I have children that I'm responsible for.
Well, and Michelle, if you aren't doing your own work alongside of this, and I'm talking about AA or Al-Anon, life recovery groups, where you're learning how to deal with your side of the street so that this doesn't become the pattern for the next 20 years. I think that's going to be the next avenue for you to take.
Michelle, you guys are engaged in counseling, and you said your kids are going to be.
We're doing the STEPS program, the 12 steps.
Great.
We're doing great. I'm in Al-Anon, and he goes to his program. And that's our two oldest are about to start their counsel. So for the first time as a family, we're all getting counsel.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Which is really good. Yeah. Yeah. And I have no problem just disconnecting from his mother, but because that's my husband's mother, I would say prayer for me and my husband, because he
I mean, it's a lot. Here's one thing that I want to say because we're going to move on here in a minute. Michelle, here's the thing. You have an opportunity to love her and love them. And I think as believers, we've got to keep that in mind, as difficult as these close relationships are. And that's where, when you set the boundaries and you start to practice the boundaries, the anger subsides, the resentment subsides, because you're clear about who she is and what you can expect from her. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible as you guys are continuing to do this work, and we will pray for you. And I'm just so glad that you called today. We're going to go on to Lee, who's calling us from Springfield, Virginia, listens on WAVA. Hi, Lee. How can we help you today?
Hello. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. I have a situation. I've been married 36 years. It'll be next month. The month after, June. And my husband has been carrying me through this same cycle for 17 years. He gets in an accident, and he don't go to work, and he wants to sue. I don't have a problem with you suing, but financial obligations still go on. Now, in January, the sheriff comes to our house, changed the locks because we're so far behind in the rent. Had to go out and borrow money. We lived there 7 years. They won't renew the lease, so we had to get out by May the 3rd, which is next month. Moved out, got a new place. Now he says today, I need some help with the rent. But you haven't worked in 2 years. You get a job, you work 1 year, and then you quit the job. Why would you quit the job? I have another job. But you're in a process of getting a job. And I don't want to go through that same cycle, that bondage. This is not the first time. I've been going through this for 17 years. And, you know, I know as a couple, a married couple, we're supposed to help one another, but it's not helping me mentally because you're not physically hitting me, but mentally you're draining me.
That's right. Well, hold on, Lee. You can hear the music. Do you have a brief question before we go to the break?
I just want to know, I'm thinking about getting a divorce because I just can't keep living a life like that.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate that honesty. It is tough, especially when you recognize there's a cycle that continues to go for years and years, and it doesn't allow for you to have that connection that you want and the support that you need, let alone the home that you work so hard to have. We are going to take a short break. We got some other calls that are online, but we're going to get back with you, Lee, right after this break.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, you know, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, May 13th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I've been listening to New Life for many years, gone to a few workshops. I want to support a ministry that helps people connect with God and with others and gives them the tools to help transform their lives.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Healing, 100 Days from Freedom from Shame, and 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Lee, who's been married for a long time.
36 years.
But there's a habit that's going on with your husband, Lee, and just trying to decide what is next. Mark or Jill, how can we help Lee?
Well, Lee, did you say that you guys are separated right now? Did I hear that wrong?
No. We're not separated. We just moved to another development. And now he says today, I'm going to need help with the rent. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going through this cycle no more. I can't keep doing that. It's draining.
So this is a complicated one, right? Because you're saying, should you divorce? I don't tell people to divorce. I think people need to maintain self-determination. But sometimes I do tell people when I think that they should separate because they're in this unhealthy cycle when just staying continues the cycle and nothing changes. It might be necessary for you to separate from him. Because he's so accident prone, and it seems like there's a cycle that's going on whether he is learning maybe to play a system where you cannot work but then get benefits from that, and he's not fulfilling his financial obligations in the marriage if he's supposed to be the provider, and so sometimes behaviors only exist in environments that enable them. So if you can, learning to taking a step to separate your finances from him and create the necessity for him to have to work and have to provide.
What do you think,
What do you think about that, Lee?
I
tried.
did that.
Okay.
Yes. See, I'm a high achiever. That's just me. And I'm like this. If I want something, I'm going to work for it and I'm going to get it. So he knows that. When I buy things or get things, do stocks or bonds or whatever, and he knows I have money, it's a manipulation game. He's using me. And I just realized that. I'm being used.
Right. Well, you guys came together, and you are someone as a high achiever that overfunctions, and he underfunctions, right? And so you in the relationship are the one that is the go-getter. And I'm sure there were other qualities about him that were complementary to you, but being a go-getter was not one of them. And
no,
right?
What has happened to him is he's been on opiates, Oxycontin for 17.
Well, that's something else has got to be going on.
It's a personality of individual. I'm a certified substance abuse counselor. I worked in co-occurrence. I've been in it over 30-something years. And that's what I say to him. When I try to use my skills and tools that I don't, he say, oh, no, I'm not your patient. I'm not your client. But I'm trying to embrace in a positive way to where we can proceed and still go forward. But, when you're on that kind of stuff, your whole mental aspect changes.
So, Lee, what would you say to someone in that position then? What would you say to a spouse in the position of a husband who is using?
I told him he needs to get off of that. He needs to get tapered off. It's changed his personality.
Well, no, Lee, what Mark is saying is if you had a client that came in to see you and her spouse was using opioids, what would you say to her about this same situation?
Separate. That's what I said to him today. I can't do it anymore. We're going to get a separation.
Yeah. So I think you've got some of your answer, and I'm not, what I'm saying here is not to blame you for the way that he treats you, but that oftentimes, there are parts that we play where we can allow someone to manipulate us, right? And you're becoming aware of this, which is what I really like. And so now you've got to make a decision. Do I allow this to continue happening? And if you do allow it to continue happening, you have to own that you are a co-creator of your situation.
Well, and you said it's been happening for 17 years, and that's the length of his opioid use. So you have an addict, an active addict that needs treatment desperately.
And the hard part is, Lee, that we hope that it's different than what the reality is, and you are a high achiever and you are doing all the work, but he's distracting from the real problem, the disconnection and the addiction.
But here's the thing too, a lot. You can probably help a lot of people, but this situation is too close, and none of us can be our own therapists.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't translate. And so you have to hand him over to people that can help him, because you're not the person who can help him.
And then do your own work, Lee, to get somebody who you can work with so that you can get this clarity as you separate, because even in separation, there's negotiations that are going on. Like what would be a requirement of coming back together? What are my expectations of what will happen in this separation? And it sounds like you guys are separated already, even though you're in the same room. And that's what happens in a lot of relationships. Yeah, exactly. And
intimacy or nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's chosen the drugs over you, Lee. He's already left you mentally.
And we're so sorry, Lee. We're gonna get you connected with a therapist in your area. We're also going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, because I think even though, just like you said, Jill, even in this therapy profession that we are all in, we all need help, and we need people outside of our own thought processes to shine the light on different areas where if we were talking to somebody, we would do.
Right. Even to tell us the things we already know, but someone to say it to us.
It's so true. It would be great if we had a crystal ball that we could see ourselves from all angles, but it doesn't work that way. We do need help. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so grateful to be able to offer workshops of so many kinds. And, every man's battle, you hear us talk about it all the time. And one of our attendees said, it was the change life experience that I needed. A call to reconnect with God, my wife, and a way to erase my shame and be free. And, I just want to encourage you, this could be your story, and we can help you get there. If you need help, you can call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we'll get you connected to the next one. We're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk with Ray, who's calling us from Buena Park, California, listens on KKLA. Thanks for calling, Ray. How can we help you today?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Very grateful.
How can we help you, Ray?
I wanted to know, my daughter, I know my daughter's witnessed a lot of bad stuff. My wife and I are separated, and I've been going to a 12-step for alcohol. And if it's appropriate that she would go to a 12-step like a CODA meeting. I guess I'm asking because I don't want to, I feel like it might shock her, it's a little too much too quick. And if they're even really, as much as the inconceivable demoralization that she has witnessed between my wife and I, and her growing up, I don't even trust myself to know what's going on. And
well, Ray, let me ask you this: are you getting help besides the 12-step work that you're doing?
No, just by myself. I'm going to help. I was recovered for. Ray, I'm a codependent, sexaholic, alcoholic addict. Probably got a lot more anger issues than I think. And I was recovered for about 7 years through CR, mainly going through the SA program. And that was good. And I just kind of drifted away, you know. And at that time, so I've been with my wife since '91. In 2000 we got married. 2005 we had a son. We divorced in 2008. At the same time, had a daughter. I was born again, cleaned up. We reconciled. She didn't have that same experience. We reconciled in 2011, and we've been living together, not married. We were divorced in 2008, never remarried. But so back here on Easter, I moved out because there was a giant fight that was just so. Now, I don't know.
So there's a lot of chaos, Ray, and you're wondering if your daughter would be suitable for her to be in the Coda group. But I think there's other
your daughter?
things. She's 14.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Okay.
But let me clarify one more thing. And Ray, you're not doing anything right now towards recovery or support, counseling, marriage, any of that.
No, other than I've been going every day to AA at Alana Club in Anaheim, and then last night I went to a Coda group down in Costa Mesa. My wife also. Never mind. Yeah.
No, go ahead. What is your wife doing?
No, she is she's interested in going to Coda. She went to one of the AA meetings with me.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, let's see what Jill and Mark have to say.
Ray, so how much sobriety do you have? Like, when was the last time you had a drink?
What time is it? Last night.
Today? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Last night, no, I have to. I'm able to be sober to work.
Okay. All right.
So I hear your concern about your daughter, and certainly her issues have to be addressed. But I think first and foremost,
my son as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important that you and your wife do care for them. But I think the first thing is for you to be sober. And if this is still a
100%.
daily problem, yet you're going to groups, then it's not enough. And perhaps you need to go into a program where you can be monitored and not have access to alcohol so that you can detox, right? Because it's really hard. Like, you can go to AA meetings, but if you're not in that mindset, I mean, it's such a habit. It's such an entrenched habit that hijacks your brain. And it's just so much easier to give into it than to fight it.
And you know, Joe, we've talked to folks before where you might have to go to more than one meeting a day. Like you may have to fill your days with that if you're not in treatment. And
you know,
and
I do.
Go ahead.
I've had 4 days sobriety going to these meetings, and it's tough being out of the house. I'm not totally trying to make excuses.
No, it is tough.
Okay.
But the thing is to realize is that the alcohol has gotten you to this place. It's not your friend, even though it feels like your best friend.
I got that.
Right.
Oh,
Mark, what would you offer to Ray?
All right. It's a really hard situation, but I have to be direct with you. I mean, your question here to us is, should your daughter go to a Coda group? But what she really needs is really needs a mom and a dad who are healthy and who can support her. And, you know, putting her in a group, right, is really kind of, you know, offloading your responsibility here. She really needs you to become clean and to become healthy, and maybe that is your motivation here. And I agree with what Jill's saying. You need probably something more extreme than what you've done so far, right? And it's probably some kind of inpatient program.
Excuse me. You're in Southern California. We've got a ton of them. Right? You came down to Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa is filled with recovery programs.
Well, and we've got relationships with them too. Ray, are you willing to do something like that?
If I was able to find the means, I don't.
Ray, they're at every price point. There are ones that are even free.
And I agree with him 100%, but and I don't want to speak for my wife. She has her own programs to work. But we are kind of both off the rails, so out of touch right now.
So you have to do it for you.
I do kind of feel that it is. Yeah, I am trying to work.
No, but what I mean is, if she only has one parent who is healthy and functional,
she doesn't.
That's better than right. That's better than none, is what I'm saying.
Or do you have family that can step in with the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Not in any.
Okay.
No,
so Ray, listen, we hear the struggle that your family is in. The house is on fire, literally, and we need more than just a bucket of water. Hold on, Ray, and we're going to get you connected with one of our treatment centers that we have there in the area. You know, it could be the next, somewhere somebody has to start. And I'd ask the audience to pray for Ray and his family. And we'll get you connected also with a counselor for your kids, for your family, just to get started in the right direction. We're going to send you a Life Recovery Bible as well. You know, it is the hardest thing is to accept that we can't handle the problem. And that's where you're at right now, Ray. So we'll be praying that you will take this invitation to, just enter into treatment and to make a difference. We are able to do this because we have good relationships with treatment centers across the country. And if this is part of your family story, call us and we'll get you connected. Larry, you're in the studio, and we've helped some people across the nation with these kind of struggles, and we can only do it because people are faithful in their donations to us.
Absolutely. This is a little different because this is, I like this testimony. She says, I've been a New Life listener for over 30 years. I'm also in a New Life recovery online group and have an excellent New Life coach. I've been appreciating gentle reminders daily to continue to support the ministry and finally remember to send in my donation. How could I not when you've done so much for me and so many others? And she goes on to talk about the changes that she's felt and how much she loves the host and how much she loves Steve's quick wit. She even said she likes my wheezing laugh.
I do too.
As we all do.
Anyway, she thanks us, and I love that people respond, and I love that she said she likes the gentle reminders daily. That's what attracted me to this.
There you go.
Is we want to remind you, we need your help, we need your support, and we do it with humility and ask that you do it prayerfully. So thank you for considering it.
Well, and we always are so grateful for our Club New Life family who give every month and helps us to help people like Ray, like our callers, the families that are represented on so many of these calls. We want to help and we want to be here for you. We'll be right back after this.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, June 10th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If I haven't thanked you for listening today in all the ways that you listen, we've got listeners on the podcast and a lot of you listen on our app and listen online, YouTube, love our YouTube family. We just want to thank you for your faithfulness in listening because it does make a difference, not only in your life, but you're going to hear something and you're going to share that with somebody else and they're going to say, well, how did you hear that? And you'll go, I heard it on New Life Live. And so, just share the show with somebody else and it may make a difference in their life today. And we're so grateful. We're going to go back to the calls and we're going to talk with Bella, who's calling us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, listens on WFIL. Hi, Bella. How can we help you today?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. My husband and I have been raising my nephew for the past 26 years. His mother, who was my biological sister, died 17 years ago, drugs and alcohol, but we've had him since the day he was born.
Okay.
Thankfully, he's not a drug addict, but he does have the alcoholism. He was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. She did LSD and cocaine up until basically 2 weeks before he was born. He's at the point right now, he's very disrespectful. He came into the house. He almost drinks almost every night. Last Saturday, or I should say last Sunday, he was out for 5 hours. He came into the house totally drunk, calling my husband and I names, being very disrespectful. My husband wanted to kick him out, which I do at times as well. But within the past 5 years, he's been diagnosed with diabetes. So I know that if we do kick him out, I know in my heart that I would feel guilty if anything happened to him. But I'm at the point right now that I don't know what else to do.
Well, we hear the sadness, Bella, and it's great that you've had him all these times. But let's hear, Jill, you want to start?
Well, Bella, I'm wondering if you've been able to get him any help for this. And does he even see that he has a problem?
He sees it at times. We've tried so many times to ask him to get help. Unfortunately, my mother, I've unfortunately been around alcoholism all my life. My mother was a functioning alcoholic. My mother tried to get his mother into rehab. She did 4 times, and she never wanted to go into it. So every time she was in it for like 2-3 weeks, she left.
She'd leave, yeah.
So we've asked him several times, you need help. Like, why don't you go talk to someone? Why don't you get the help that you need? He refuses it. And I know I can't force him because he's 26 years old. And I feel as though if I would force him, he would probably take the same steps that his biological mother has. By getting out.
Well, but has he gotten any help in terms of, I know you guys have been his parents, really, but his history is very traumatic. And I'm wondering how he feels about who his mom is, and the lack of her being able to raise him and then her dying. And sometimes at an unconscious level, the only connection we have with someone is a destructive connection. And so his connection with her is his using.
Yes, and I've been very honest with him since the time he could comprehend this, telling him, like, he always asked me, why did my mom and my father abandon me? I said they did not abandon you. They just, that was their addiction. They loved you very much, but unfortunately that was their priority, is their next fix, not drug. My sister was, but my son isn't. He's not a drug user. I would say he's an alcoholic. And I tried to explain this to him. it wasn't that they didn't love you. It was that they were looking for the next fix.
But I think it's hearing from him. How does it feel to you? Because he's saying he feels abandoned. Tell me what that's been like for you. You're giving an explanation, trying to reassure him, but you also need to hear what it feels like to him. And to be a part of her DNA, right?
So here's the other part of that too, Mark, before you go. I just want to say, Bella, you're holding all of the world together for everybody. You have been in the middle of all of this, and it's hard to get clarity when you're right in the middle of it. And you're going to have some really tough conversations and boundaries that are not going to feel good to you or to your son, but it could be the very thing that saves his life. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, so Jill's right in the work that he needs to do, but what you need right now is stabilization. And there needs to be some kind of action taken, because if nothing changes, right? And Bella, what I want to say is I think you've done a fantastic job. You have raised him through adulthood here and been this consistent figure in his life. And yes, he's had trauma, but you've done your part. And so I want to free you. I want to tell you that if you do set a boundary, you're not at fault. You're not to blame. You know, something that they say in AA is you didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. And so what I would say to you is set a boundary, come alongside him, say that you're not going to put up with the behavior that is happening right now, but you will support him through a program if he chooses to do that. And so you lay it out what you will do. And then there's going to be that part that you're going to have to let go and live in that tension. And that's where you're going to have to tell yourself that you've done a great job and you're not to blame. And you've actually been that figure, consistent figure in this boy's life.
Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to try again.
You can do it.
And because I just feel like I think I would never forgive myself if
and
kicked him out, or
maybe the boundary is that you don't give him money. Maybe the boundary.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
We haven't given him money in years.
He's got to fully support himself. Maybe he needs to start paying rent.
Right, but I don't think he can keep coming home drunk and abusing you guys. Right. That's not healthy for you, Bella, but that's also not healthy for him.
Right.
To continue to do that.
It's not healthy from my daughter.
And no one, because we get good at whatever we practice, and right now this is the behavior he's practicing, and he's only going to continue to exacerbate it.
Well, and Bella, if you haven't already done this, you need to be part of an Al-Anon group or life recovery group, because in those groups, we learn that what is happening to the person who's addicted is not our control. It's not our responsibility, but we do have our own life that we have to accept. And when you set boundaries with him, you're not kicking him out. He's making the choice to not go along with what's okay in this house. And the sooner you get with a group, the better you will be able to set those standards up. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible. We'll get you, actually the Life Recovery workbook for drugs and alcohol addiction, because I think that's going to help you with some clarity on that. Mark, Joe, we've heard about this addiction problem, and people struggle with knowing what is theirs and what is somebody else. I love what you just said, Mark, about that. It's not ours to cure, it's not ours to control. And, how can we encourage people if they're struggling with this?
Well, similar to what we said on a different show here that we've done, is to set a boundary here, right? Boundaries actually free us and they free other people. And like what you said there to Bella, Becky, is that she's not kicking him out. He's making choosing this choice. She is offering this pathway of support. And that's what each of us have ultimately. We have these pathways. And we ultimately get to choose. That's what free will is. And so while we don't control the outcome of everything, we can control the outcome of some things.
I love that. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, listeners. If you need help, call us. We'll be there for you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.